this is Luke from Wine Country BC, taking you beyond the guided tour of wine in British Columbia at winecountrybc.ca and on Twitter at winecountrybc, etc., all that stuff. Okay, today Okanagan Crush Pad has given me two wines to show you today. They want to change the way that you think about rosé in British Columbia. They've got a couple different rosés in their portfolio right now, and the BS Rosé and the Haywire Rosé, and there's some interesting things about both of them. But they want you to get, they want to change the way you think about rosé in a very poetic way. They would like you to create some poetic comments, and you can actually win a trip to the Okanagan Valley from wherever you are. The details are at OkanaganCrushPad.com. But here I thought I would at least get in the mood for a little rosé. It's starting to be, getting warmer now. The spring is getting there. In the summer we drink a lot of rosé in the Okanagan Valley. It's just hot here sometimes, and rosé is just kind of nice for that kind of thing. So to set the mood, of course, I'm wearing a nice pink t-shirt, and I've also got some poetry that I would like to start off with, just to kind of set the poetic mood here. So here we go. When in April the sweet showers fall and pierce the drought of March to the root and all, the veins are bathed in liquor of such power as brings about the engendering of the flower. I heard Michael Bartze is really into Chaucer, so that's from the first part of Chaucer there. There are, I don't know, maybe he's not, I don't know, maybe they're not poetic, who knows. The point is they want you to kind of get creative with that. So lots of things happening with Okanagan Crush Pad. Of course, I've had some of their wines and other labels on videos here before. But basically, let's look at the two contenders. We've got in the first end here, BS. I love that name. I don't know why. Well, you know why. Rosé Table Wine. This is 2010 vintage, and it is Gamay. It is pure Gamay from this Seacrest Mountain Vineyard, which is north of Oliver here, towards where Covert Farms is, kind of on that same road. And then the second one here is Haywire's Gamay Rosé 2010, same vintage. Okay. Now, if we're used to seeing rosés, normally we're used to seeing rosés that are very fresh. And we're used to seeing rosés that are basically fresh and fruity and vibrant and ready to go. And yeah, you get out on the boat or on the patio or the whatever, and you start having beautiful, lovely, fresh, fruity, sometimes sweet rosé as part of the summer. And that's kind of what Okanagan Crush Pad sort of wants you to sort of think about. And Michael Bartze, in some of his notes, and I've heard him talking about this, and actually Reese Pender mentioned this too in one of our previous podcasts, I think 122 on Clos de Soleil. Check back on that, there's a link somewhere on the website here. Basically, that Okanagan wines have lots of natural acidity, and because of that, they're really very good aging. They're good for long-term aging. We see that in the red wines. I already know that. I've tasted some decade-old Pinot Noir that doesn't taste like it's a decade old. It tastes like it's 5 years old or 4 years old. It tastes really fresh. There's ice wines that have tons of acidity in it. Our wines here, being that they're northern, have a lot of acidity naturally in them. Americans who come to visit us in the Okanagan, they tend to find our wines a little bit on the sort of sour side sometimes, because there is a little bit more acidity. And especially maybe you've tried, you're used to Australian wines that are very rich and low in acidity. BC doesn't have that. I remember when I first came to British Columbia, I was really disappointed with the red wines, to be honest. As it turns out, it just wasn't a very good vintage, but it was also that that I wasn't used to the acidity in the red wines. But that goes for all the wines, except it's kind of easier to accept if it's in white wines. So the two of them are here right now. I've got them both side by each in each one of my glasses here. The first one is the BS Rosé, $19, $18.99, $19 for both of them actually. And oh, here, can't make those disappear. That in? There we go. Okay, so this is the BS Rosé. These are about slightly lower than room temperature, so they're not totally chilled. I want to be able to get the aromas out of these, and the whole place smells great now because I've had them open for about 5 minutes. But anyways. I have tasted both of these wines before, and a couple of years ago, I think, or maybe it was a year ago. I can't remember now, but it was more when they were first released, and there were some very fresh fruit notes on either one of these. This one's got more of a like a jam kind of aroma, like a strawberry jam or a cranberry jam or jelly kind of aroma to it. It's a little minerally as well. It's very intriguing. I remember I did have a preference. I remember tasting these both at the same time, and I remember having a preference, and I'm curious to see if I actually still agree with that preference and to see how they've progressed. It's very smooth. Um, it's like there's a tiny bit of sugar there. It's not that dry. It isn't off dry or anything, but it's definitely there is a little bit there, a tiny bit. Nothing. It's not a sweetie by any stretch of the imagination. For people who like Spanish rosados, this is the one. It's really very very elegant. It's not so it's balanced. It's really well balanced. It's not a bracing acidity. I don't know if that's a function of how it was done or if that's the age or whatever, but it's a beautiful fruit aroma. It's a beautiful fruit flavor. It's kind of old world actually. It's kind of got a nice mineral component that makes it kind of not earthy. That would be the wrong word because for rosé you don't want that, but for red wines you do. Anyways, beautiful beautiful wine. Let's try this one then. So this is the Haywire Rosé. Just to give you another close up. Let's see what's going on here. Okay, this is a lot punchier, a lot more fruit. It's more of a fresh fruit kind of thing. So that was the BS was kind of like a jam kind of fruit, like a cooked fruit kind of thing. This one is like a big bowl of cranberries, basically, right out in front of you. There's other things, though. It's really very interesting. It's not as minerally. It's more pure fruit. There's more of a straight fruit streak across it. Touch of an herbal note, too. That's actually kind of cool. See how it tastes. That's got a little more zing to it. There's a little more acidity on this one, but it's a very similar flavor. It's made from the same grape, and they were actually harvested 2 weeks apart. Same grape, same vineyard, whole bit, but difference in as to which one was harvested first. I don't remember which one was harvested first. I remember hearing about it. I'm going to guess it's going to be the Haywire. There we go, Haywire. That's the one that was harvested first, simply because it has more acid. I might be wrong. Who knows? But basically, very, very, very intriguing flavors. I have to say, I do have a preference. I'm not going to tell you. Well, I don't know. Maybe I don't. Who cares? I remember a couple of years ago choosing the Haywire Rosé. That was my favorite. I really liked the freshness that it exhibited when it was younger, and it was beautiful. It still is beautiful. It hasn't lost any of that, and I have a feeling that's because of Mr. Screwcap here. All of them are under Screwcap, and that's very intriguing for wines that are, we're seeing how they're aging under Screwcap. I have to say, though, I kind of like the BS right now. At this stage in its life, I'm kind of curious to see what they're going to do in another year or even another 2 years. This is fascinating for me. To be honest, I was one of those people that used to think that, oh, rosé is really good when it's fresh, and I like that, and I still do. I'm not going to change that. I still like that, but this is really very intriguing that it's now over 2 years old, and that's typically what we think of as off season for rosé, but obviously it isn't. I find this really, really intriguing. Yeah, I think I'm going to go with the BS for this year. But the Haywire was really, really good as well. I think if I was having something that had a little more of a fatty content, like a cheese sauce or something like that, I would still probably go with the Haywire, simply because it's got that acidity for it. But that's neither here nor there. Anyways, basically, if you are able to pick up a bottle of each of those, and set up or even just one of them, go to OkanaganCrushPad.com, tell them how much you like it, and you could win a trip to the Okanagan. I don't know about the contest rules or anything. You'll have to check there on OkanaganCrushPad.com, but they will let you know for sure. Leave a poetic response, and then after you've done that, come over to winecountrybc.ca and leave me a response there. Tell me what you think. Leave me a Twitter. I tweet at winecountrybc. I'm also on Facebook at winecountrybc and on YouTube at youtube.com/BC Wine Country. All right. So enjoy rosé, no matter how long it's been. You know, it's okay to have vintage rosé, and that's pretty cool. And so to finish off, I'd like to do my own poetry here. I have written a rosé haiku about Okanagan rosé. So here we go. Rosé for summer, patio sipping, feet up, a classic pairing. Cheers from Wine Country, everybody.